Hello, and welcome to the Euro What from WhatElseIsOn.tv. I'm Mike McComb, and I'm joined today by my fellow WEIO Eurovision News and Entertainment Research Division specialists, Brian Brazel and Ben Smith. Howdy, folks. How's everyone doing this week?
Fantastic. I had the opportunity to watch Beachella this weekend. On Sunday via somebody posted Beyonce's Coachella performance on Facebook, so I got to watch that, and it was everything I needed and more. How are you, Ben?
Good. So it is a rainy Marathon Monday here in Boston, which cannot have been fun to run in. It was barely fun to commute in today. You are riding a high off of Beachella, which admittedly I am too. I watched the performance on like Sunday when it was not 2 a.m. But I'm also just riding a high off of... I saw Rick Astley last night at the House of Blues.
Ooh.
Just
That's
like
amazing.
full... and this is the second time in 2 years just that I've unironically gone to see Rick Astley perform songs other than Never Gonna Give You Up.
And was the crowd into it?
Yes, the crowd was like very into it. Like he's a showman. He should be like doing consulting for other artists on like between song banter.
Oh, really?
I don't think that he would have been as interesting a show to go to if he wasn't so polished between shows. And if nothing else, it feels like he understands exactly what level of fame he has.
That is very important.
Yeah, like he knows exactly why
crucial.
you were coming to his show, and he's going to get as many other songs as he can, other than just Together Forever and Never Gonna Give You Up in the middle there. And it's just great. I was admittedly one of the younger members of the audience, but it's great.
Yeah, that could be fun. Last year about this time, I saw Expose and Taylor Dane on one bill. It was an amazing show. Like
That's
we
amazing.
went to the point of no return, and yeah, I would love to go back. So
How you doing, Mike?
doing all right. It was another quiet, wintry weekend, as weekends in the middle of April are, I guess. Downloaded the Eurovision album on Friday, which was very exciting. So was listening to that pretty much nonstop anytime that I had earphones on. So I have a little bit of backlog of podcasts at the moment, but that's okay. We wanted to kind of check in on like how the album drop went, because it seemed to be a little weird this year, or maybe it's always been like this and this is just the first year that we've noticed.
This is the first time, because I watch this religiously to find out when the album comes out, because I always buy both the regular and the karaoke album. And this year the album came out a week earlier. Like it came out, they announced, hey, it came out, and I checked the US iTunes store and it wasn't there, and some of the tracks were not available on Spotify. And then all of a sudden on Friday, oh hey, it's now available in the US. So I don't know if there was a rights issue. I don't know what they were doing, but it was definitely strange.
Someone pressed the wrong button on the karaoke album, and like the rest of it, who knows? But I mean, Friday tends to be like universal, like global at this point, release day. So it makes sense that it popped up on Friday. But why did we get it a week later?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what was really strange about it, because I knew that the CD album, if people still do
The
CDs.
coasters, the dozen coasters, yeah.
Oh, is that what CD stands for? Coasters Dozen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that was supposed to come out on April 20th, so like this coming Friday. But like I know in the last couple of years, the digital album would come out the week before. This time, well, I guess that was what happened this time in the US, but the digital album, I think, came out in Europe 2 weeks before, which, I mean, I guess makes sense. Like, this is the Eurovision Song Contest, so Europe should get first dibs. But they also dropped the karaoke album at the same time, but it was kind of like a random drop. Like, speaking of Beyonce, where it's just like, oh, yep, we're just going to like plop it in, enjoy. And yeah, like I didn't even know that the European version was going to drop. And I just happened to be checking Instagram, and they're just like, hey, have you downloaded it yet? And it's just like, what are you talking about? And then like looking at the comments, a lot of people being like, it's not available here in like Canada, Mexico, China, like pretty much any non-European country. So yeah, it was just a really weird rollout, I thought.
Well, I'm glad we were not the only ones left out. But it seemed like that came with no warning, because usually we're on top of that. So
yeah, and I think even the US coaster disc version doesn't technically come out until April 27th in the US.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
at least
that.
according to Amazon. So
Now that you've had a chance to listen to it, I don't know if I know Mike, you did. I did. I think. Did you also, Ben, have a chance to listen?
Yeah, I've been playing it all weekend, like the rest of you guys. The interesting thing is that like the CD version is always like the studio version, so there's going to be like slight differences from whatever live version we heard.
Yeah, and that it was really interesting to finally get that, because we'd particularly some of the tracks I've been listening to on Spotify, they were very similar to sort of the national final productions, and so there were a few countries that have had some pretty noticeable changes. One I noticed right away was Hungary. And Wisla Nyar from AWS, they needed to trim their song a little bit. They were about 30 seconds over. And I was a little bit concerned because they are the like metalcore song, right?
Right.
And I was very concerned that they were going to cut the best part, like the hardest of the metal part of the song, and they didn't. They trimmed down some of the repetition at the very beginning in the intro, and then I think in the last chorus maybe, they basically just trimmed a little repetition, and it sounds great. I love it. So, did y'all notice any big changes?
The one that I noticed, probably because it was one of the first tracks I went to, but like the recorded version of Toy, which we spoke effusively about like a couple weeks ago, like we've got sort of a picture of like what that actual version we're going to hear in Lisbon is going to sound like, I think, just because the intro is different than the video.
Yes. Right, yeah. Like it goes right into sort of the musical part of it, and then like with Netta adding the sound effects to the track,
right? Exactly. There's building a track rather than just starting from nothing.
Yeah, and I think I don't think Israel has changed anything else about that song. I think it's just the first 3-4 measures, and then everything else sort of snaps right back into what we heard on the official music video.
Right.
Yeah, the major change that I've noticed, and it was the one that I was seeking out, was Czech Republic's, since that one needed to get a little cleaned up for TV. And yeah, just some of the words that are taken out and some very interesting substitutions is... I don't know. It's fine. Like Czech Republic will be fine, but boldlerization is always a fun process, I think. So
yes, that's exactly right. And Belarus also made some. I think that's the biggest change that I have seen so far, that I've heard so far on the official album, is Belarus has changed the first third or half of their song, the first verse and first chorus, I believe. It's now like a ballad, and then after the first chorus, I think it snaps back into the sort of dance version that I don't know what I would call that song. It jumps back into what we have heard previously. So I don't think that was a positive change. I think they were like, oh, we need to do something with the song. It's not ranking very well. The odds makers are not really giving it a chance. I don't think those changes were what they needed to do. But
no, I don't think that this was I don't think that this was the right way to tweak that song.
Yeah, I don't know that Alexeyev can really do anything to save that song forever. I don't know. I don't think so.
One that I did kind of notice, Albania, they did some tweaking because they had to cut off, I think it was at least a minute or something. It was a pretty long
20,
track.
Yeah, it was.
And yeah, if you have watched the official music video, like that's also the same track in play. But in one of my many listenings over the weekend, I was listening to it on shuffle, and it was Toy, and then that was followed by Albania, and it was like, oh, that's a really nice transition. It's a shame that Albania got its assignment in the running order. I think this would have been a much better combination of the two. So running order matters, folks. It was a really nice flow. Yeah, we will have links to where you can acquire the digital versions through your preferred music carrier in the show notes. And then one other Eurovision music thing that happened over the weekend was Eurovision in Concert, big Eurovision event that happens in Amsterdam. I believe this year is the 10th year that they've held the event. And 32 of the competing acts this year performed in Amsterdam over the weekend. So a lot of live performances. So you can kind of get a sample of what to expect in a couple of weeks in Lisbon.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, like that one's always good because if you've somehow missed the other like 2 or 3 parties that happen now, which, those ones get like varying numbers of artists. Although this year it seemed like a lot of the parties are just a thing to do now. But like Eurovision in Concert has been just like a go-to where you can start to see, oh, this person is not great live. I'm looking forward to watching that just again to get like a little bit of a sneak peek and start to kind of refine who I think is going to get through and who I think isn't.
Yeah, and you can also get a sense of who the audiences are like really in favor of. Like there are recordings, and a lot of the European-based blogs have their own video recording. And I believe Eurovision in Concert also takes their own video that they'll post on YouTube. and you can just sort of see which artists like the audience is like singing along with and is like fully engaged, and
which song everybody is checking their phone during.
Yeah, or just talking over, and it's just like, oh, is the person singing going to tell the audience to shush? Like, it can get kind of uncomfortable to watch. Things to look forward to, I guess. I don't know. So,
well, it can't get any worse than that. Was that Hungary a couple of years ago in the like pool in the retirement home or whatever?
Yeah, when it was Pioneer and Freddie was performing at some Hungarian bath, and
it's literally just like dozens and dozens of people. You can just see their shoulders and heads bobbing above the water, and he's just singing on the pool side. It was it was not the strongest promotional tool, although he made it to the final. So he did.
Yeah, I still do not understand a word he is saying in that song, but yeah, he hosted this year's selection process, so I assume things are going well for him.
Yes.
Congratulations, Freddie.
Good job, Freddie.
Good job.
Learn to enunciate. All right. So it's time to dive into the second semifinal. We have gone through the first semifinal and have made our opinions known, and now we get to do the same thing again for the first half of the second semi, and then we'll cover the second half in next week's episode.
Find your mission, a mission to pursue. You know you've got a talent, whatever it may be. So work your magic and sing along with me. Step one, believe in it and sing it all day long. Step two, just roll with it. That's how you write a song. Sing shibba-doo-dap-dap.
Fun fact, the first entry to perform in the second semifinal, it's going to be Norway. That will be the 1500th Eurovision entry, which seems like a lot of Eurovision entries.
Yeah.
It seems like more than 60 whatever years will have supported. But yeah, so Norway gets to perform first. This is Alexander Rybak. This is a former winner from 2009 with Fairy Tale. When he won in 2009, it was he scored a record number of points. That was before they switched the voting to be split between juries and televotes. So that record was very easily eclipsed in 2016, I guess, was the first time they made that change. Anyway,
Yes.
So Norway, Alexander Rybak, he is singing That's How You Write a Song. I am very excited about this song, both as a song and as an opener. I think this is the perfect placing for this song because it's super catchy. I played the song for my colleague, who I think I've mentioned him before on the podcast. This guy I work with, Andrew, he will totally, anytime I'm like, hey, do you want to hear this Eurovision thing? He's like, well, you're going to play it no matter what I say. So yes, sure, I'll listen to it. And I played this for him and he was like, oh, that's actually a really good catchy song. This song is exactly the right amount of silly. This is the kind of song that is everything good about Eurovision. Like, this is like the purest form of Eurovision for me. It's like pure sugar. This is it. And I feel kind of bad because like Croatia filled the same spot for me last year and I totally trashed Croatia. And then they got on stage and I was like, oh, I see why this song works. I'm not going to make that mistake again. So I am really excited about the song. I don't think it'll have any problem going through. I know that we have some mixed opinions among the crew about this. What do you think, Ben? What do you think about this song?
So I'm going to agree with you that this is a great opener. This feels very Eurovision, but I mean, I think of it as an opener as in it should just be opening the show. There should be special guest star Alexander Rybak. But since he is their entry, I mean, and as soon as I think Mike pointed out that this was going to be the 1500th entry, whatever opened up, I'm like, I think, Mike, you had sort of pinned Norway for this. I'm like, yeah, they're going to do it with the former winner if they had that chance. But I don't know. Like, I have this one in sort of my bubble section of it going through, and I see it largely getting through, kind of coasting on Alexander Rybak just being back and being beloved and having once had a Eurovision record with his point totals. I don't know. Like, this song is I don't know. It's silly, but like on the wrong side of silly for me. I don't know, like that's not how you write a song at all.
It totally is.
We live in a society.
Yeah. I want my money back for this seminar.
I paid $700 for this masterclass video series. Aside from that, I mean, it's great. It's great. It feels like it's going to be a fun performance. And also, I just kind of just based on having watched him in the national final, I just want to watch him make faces as the scoring happens. I don't know, Mike. I'm just going to pass this over to you because I keep running out of things to say on this one.
Yeah, so All right, I'm going to start by saying yes, this one will advance, but no, I will not be happy about it. It's just my opinion from when we first talked about it after it was selected really hasn't changed all that much. Like, I'm still not interested in the return of the king narrative that. I mean, I guess that hasn't really been pushed at this point because I don't think anybody is expecting this song to win. I think it does work well as an opener, and I think there's a lot of reasons why this one was put in the first position. One, like, that's how you write a song is, like, regardless of who is singing it. Like, if you have a song with that sort of title, the start of a semifinal seems to be a good place for that. But then it also gets into, like, okay, if this is going to be the 1500th entry, there are only 9 choices of which country would get that distinction. It can't be Australia because, like, they're not Europe and, like, yeah, that would just be weird. Romania, they haven't won yet. San Marino, that would be
mean.
No,
there would be riots in the street, I would think. Very fabulous riots because this is Eurovision, but yeah, there would be riots. Denmark, like, their song, I don't think really matches with the 1500th vibe. Serbia would all, like, kind of is also
exactly. So just kind of looking over this. Okay, so these were the 9 countries that were drawn for this half of the semifinal. Which one is a good one to open the show?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it was pretty much in my mind. It was between Norway and Russia, and like, Russia also has a distinction of being one of 5 countries that have a perfect record. We will get into that later.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but it's just like there's a whole bunch of baggage with Russia getting in that spot. But anyway, yeah, this is just me avoiding talking about the actual song in question here, which is just like, it's fine. It's very Eurovision-y. It's just not anything I'm interested in, but it'll advance. I've come to terms with that. This is going to be a recurring theme in the semifinal where it's just like 10 songs are going to advance. Got to fill those spots.
Just the recurring theme of semifinal 2. Okay, sure, I guess.
I want to position this song. I want to, like, this is going to sound like I'm making a joke, and I swear I'm not. I'm actually being serious right now. I want to position this song as sort of the antidote to last year's winners. I can't even remember his name now.
Oh, Salvador Sobral.
Thank you, Salvador Sobral. When he gave his talk afterwards and was like, we need to make music that's important and serious. Like, pop music is disposable. We need to make less of that. Like, this song for me is actually the antithesis of that. This song is about the democratization of art. You can write a song just by, like, writing some stuff down. Like, that's ultimately what the song is about. And so I actually really like that. That's one of the reasons I like the song, is because it's silly, and Alexander Rybak, like, performs so hard, y'all. He just, some people make performing look easy. He does not. You can see every little bead of sweat that's coming out of him. But you know what? He's up there on the stage. He's working real hard, and he makes other people feel like they could do it. Right? Like, when I watch Beyonce, I'm like, I will never do that. That is never going to happen. I look at Alexander Rybak and I'm like, oh, I could go to Eurovision. Hey, like, who, right? Like, so I appreciate that about this song.
There is something very nice about a performer that makes it look effortful, where you can see that they are working. And, like, I'm now on board with this. Oh, wow, this is the antithesis to everything last year's winner said in his remarks that I found kind of pretentious.
Yeah, it was super pretentious.
Yeah, it's just, like, as a rebuttal, I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't think Alexander Rybak is the correct
I'm not sure
delivery mechanism.
Sure it's the correct rebuttal, but I like it more when I think of it as a direct rebuttal to that. Because, excuse me, sir, have you seen the Eurovision Song Contest? It is very frivolous and silly.
Yeah, it's just Rybak's just like a walking finger gun, and I just can't with that. So
I
very much appreciate that description of him because, yes.
I'm rooting for this. I know people for whom this is their favorite song, and I can't really disagree. This is not my favorite song in the contest, but I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I've tried 1,000,000 times to kiss the emptiness and make her mine. I should have stayed, but I already left 1,000 times.
So as a rebuttal to last year, Eurovision entries should be serious. They shouldn't be silly. So Romania's like, okay, cool. And they have given us The Humans, which is a great band name when you are trying to Google things, with the song Goodbye, which again, Humans, Goodbye. Real great for Googling more information on this band. On the plus side, I realized I didn't need to do a bunch of Googling because I have a bunch of Eurovision compilations in my iTunes library. So I took a look at just to see, like, because I always think of Romania as being, like, this feels, like, very out of character for Romania, but in looking at the past entries I have on my computer, it's actually very in character for them. When they are not sending people doing crazy operatic voices or pianos that are on fire or operatic voices while the pianos are on fire, they are sending, like, very serious sort of rock-oriented songs. So a couple years ago, we had Deca, which was all about sort of the struggle of refugees. A few years before that, we had Moment of Silence, which was a little bit more on kind of the campier side in terms of performance. And actually, I think, wasn't that the one where they didn't actually get to perform?
Yes, which makes me very sad.
Like, there has been sort of an equal mix for Romania of if they are not doing something on the lighter side, like you're yodel it, you're playing with fires, they're doing something very kind of serious. So it makes sense that, you know, they did. It seems like they have sort of two go-tos, sort of like how when you snack, when you have something salty and then you need something sweet. Romania did the sweet last year, so they're giving us salty, and that's how we have The Humans and Goodbye. And this one is a grower on me, I will say. It's as far as kind of this adult contemporary rock thing. Like, it's a pretty good one. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think this is very radio friendly. I think that is a big thing that the song has going for it. My major concern right now is that it's just kind of forgettable, and I have big concerns. I was watching the music video again, and the drummer in the music video is playing nothing recognizable to the music. Like, it's not the same thing as what's happening in the music. And normally that doesn't really bother me. There was something about the way it was happening that, like, he was supposed to be like hitting toms or something, and he was like hitting the cymbal. I'm like, that's a really obvious thing. I feel like my point is that I have concerns about their ability to stage this properly, because the music video was something that was like staged and probably recorded over several takes. If they can't get that right, how are things going to go on the Eurovision stage?
Well, and like talking about the music video, one thing I spent the entirety of the music video trying to figure out is how many people are in this band. Because the music video, you have a couple performance setups, but you have one where there's like a bunch of background people just in like plain white masks. And like, if you guys want to do that on the Eurovision stage, you have like 5 or 6 people, so you might not be able to do that. So again, like I just spent like a good chunk of the video trying to figure out, okay, but how many people are actually in this band? What are they going to be able to do on the stage?
You seem like you might have a more positive interpretation of this than we do, Mike.
Yeah, this is one that has been growing on me since the last time that we discussed it. I think you've hit all of the major points where it is just like, yeah, it is a really nice radio-friendly adult contemporary number. And I mean, the staging part, I think, is going to be a challenge. At least according to their official photo, there are 6 people in the group. So there may be people pulling double duty with the white masks. And I'm not as concerned about the instrumentation thing. Like that is something that can easily be worked around. And it's not like the instruments are actually a part of the performance. Like they're not going to be mic'd instruments or anything like that. And
right.
Like the camera work, like if the drummer is just drumming at a completely different time signature than the song, like as long as it's not distracting the band members, like the cameraman doesn't have to focus on the drummer.
They can work around that.
Yeah. I am concerned that it's in the 2 spot, just because that is traditionally a very difficult spot to qualify out of. And Romania is one of the 5 countries that has a perfect record up to this point. And a lot of people think it could be at risk this year. But again, their 2015 entry was also like of this style, and not it didn't seem like it would be popular enough, and that like it was the same sort of discussion of, is the streak going to break? But then you have the Romanian diaspora, and do not doubt the power of the Romanian diaspora. So I have it as number 10 right now. So yeah, I think it is definitely on the bubble, but I think it's probably going to get through unless the mask performance really does not translate well on TV.
Yeah,
the
like
odds makers have it sitting at 11th, by the way. So they're pretty much in agreement with you that it's right on the bubble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think this one is definitely, like, this one is a little bit lower for me right now. Like, my initial assessment, it sort of just popped out of there at 14. But yeah, like this, like, don't doubt the power of the Romanian diaspora. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see with this one, because it really depends on the staging here, because admittedly, there's not a whole... Well, I was about to say there's not a whole lot of kind of rocky entries this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, they've all kind of coalesced into this semifinal.
Yeah, they have, which is not great in their favor.
All right, so Serbia, they are trying to bounce back from not qualifying last year, and kind of a surprise. Like I thought that their entry last year was a potential song of the summer type song, and yeah, they missed qualifying. This year, they are sending Sanja, Ilic, and Balkanika with the song Nova Deca. This one is an interesting one for me. So Serbia has had mixed results with various types of songs, like songs that are like of like Serbian tradition tend to do well, but they've had a couple missteps there. They've also tried to be kind of not necessarily current, but current-ish, at least with like dance style or electronic beats, that sort of thing. They've had mixed results, like last year is a great example of that. So this year's song is kind of mixing the two traditions, and I'm still kind of processing like how effective it's going to be, because the sort of traditional Serbian vocal style takes up the first minute of the 3-minute song before it gets into something that's a little bit more current and recognizable. And that happens for like 30 seconds. And then it's another minute of kind of more traditional Serbian vocals. And then another 30 seconds of something more modern. And then that's 3 minutes. Time's up. I think it works. Structurally, it works. As a Eurovision entry, I have no idea how it's going to translate. I like this song. I have this on the bubble. I feel like it could be anywhere from 18th to 5th place. I don't know. Or Ryan, what do you think of this one?
I agree completely. I like this song. This is a song that I get a lot of enjoyment out of, and every time it comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, this song. I've got it in the 12th spot because it's just that first 60 seconds. You're absolutely right. That said, it does it does have an old guy with a flute. Mm-hmm. And he's adorable, and I feel like that might be a point in their favor. I hope that this song does well. I like it. It will be on my shuffle. Like, it's one that I already play pretty routinely that I will continue to. Yeah, I just don't, with this particular semifinal, I don't necessarily see how this one gets into the top 10 unless I'm just really, really wrong about some other stuff, which is completely possible.
Ben, what do you think?
I like the Eurovision entries that I tend to really, really like are the ones that sort of pull from both kind of traditional music and also what's going on in pop. And in this case, like Serbia, as you mentioned, Mike, in the past, sometimes they do very, very Serbian things and they sometimes get through. Sometimes they do very pop things and they kind of get through. Feels like this year they're like, okay, so if we do part of both, maybe it will definitely qualify. And I'm not sure that that's going to necessarily work, because like there are parts of the song I like, but there are also parts of the song like, what is happening? I feel like just trying to think of this in terms of a live context, when I've looked at videos either of like the national performance of this or other live performances, it's been just like the three main singers and like the guy with the flute. But other than that, there's not a whole lot else going on.
It's not a very pyrotechnic-y performance.
Yeah.
But it feels like it should be.
But it feels like it should be. It feels like you should have like something going on to kind of like, because the music is nice, but it needs just a little bit of oomph behind it. And I'm not sure that they're currently getting that queued up visually.
It's like this is trying to be like peanut butter and chocolate, but it could just as easily be like peanut butter and tuna fish. So it's like...
Ew.
Yeah, well, I mean...
No, I get what you're saying.
But, yeah, I mean, this could be something that would sort of test my hypothesis of being able to perform simultaneously for the live audience and the television audience. And if the live audience responds well to this performance, I think that's going to be what boosts this into qualifying for the final. But if it's just the TV audience and like there's just this kind of disconnect with the people in the room, then I don't think it's going to get through.
I could see the juries pulling this through as well.
Yeah, the juries could really appreciate like the musicianship behind the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, if this gets through, I think that will be what does it. I think it'll be the juries.
Interesting. Okay. Well, good luck, Serbia.
Yeah. I truly wish you luck, Serbia.
Best of luck to you.
Give it to 'em, Jack. We are who we are, and who we are is who we wanna be. We don't have to listen, 'cause all that counts is you and me. And when we rise and when we fall, we're getting up, dusting ourselves off. In the middle of the storm, we're standing tall. We'll be standing tall. This is who we are. Anything turns wrong, we're marching onwards like
Shall we talk about San Marino?
We have to.
Do we?
Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
It's okay. No, it's okay. So San Marino is not sending Valentina this year. She has gone 4 years out of the last 5 or 6 or something like that.
She has done her time.
She has done her time. She is tied currently for the most appearances at Eurovision. So we love you, Valentina. Instead, they are sending Jessica featuring Jenifer Brening. Yes, but she goes by Jenny B. And the name of their song is Who We Are. If you remember, they were picked through this 1 in 360 process where people were encouraged to send in entries from all around the world. People could put money on or try to support different entries. Mike, did you end up doing that, Mike?
No, and I'm glad I didn't because the list of funders got leaked accidentally.
Oops. Well, you dodged a bullet
Our
there.
luxury timeshare, no.
Yeah, so I don't, just to be real honest, I don't really have a lot of really positive things to say about the song. Looking at sort of our rankings, the three of us are sort of unanimously giving this the thumbs down. There are a couple things. This song does have some okay patchwork moments. There are some moments of the song that I think actually really work musically. The problem is that's because they stole them from other songs.
Mm-hmm.
We've mentioned before that the sort of phrase into the chorus was like directly lifted from Sweden's winner Heroes by Måns Zelmerlöw a few years ago.
And if you think about it, imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah, so there are some legitimate musical moments that work. The rap is not the worst rap I've ever heard. It just it's not even that bad. I actually caught myself kind of like singing along with it when I was doing the dishes the other day and was horrified with myself. This is one of those songs that it's gonna weasel its way into my head, and not because it's that great. It's a song about bullying. I appreciate the message. It just is so heavy-handed on things. It starts out with like the first word in the song is bullied. So it just, there's nothing subtle about this. There's nothing nuanced about it. I hope the performance is better than the final performance, in which they had 2 little creepy robots doing a little AI robot dance that I could not even watch more than 30 seconds of because it was just freaking me out. So I just truly do not see how this entry moves forward, even in this nightmare of a semifinal where there just are not that many good songs.
Ryan, I would like to disagree with you on a point. I think
What's
that they absolutely need to have the robots. Like that makes the performance for me. Is that it needs to be very obvious that San Marino had the budget for backup dancers or buying a couple Ibos and they went with the robots. I don't know that rap verse though, guys. It feels like Real Housewives caliber, possibly even like 30 Rock in universe.
Are you seriously going to make me defend the Real Housewives?
Good point. Countess Luann would never do this.
They should have gotten Countess Luann.
honestly, like get Countess Luann.
I've been a supporter of San Marino for a very long time.
I want the best for them.
What's so disappointing about this is...
I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, San Marino.
Well, given what the makeup of this semifinal... Like, we thought that the second semifinal was going to be, like, an absolute bloodbath just based on which countries were allocated to this semifinal. I mean, you've got Russia, you've got Sweden, you've got Australia, you've got all of these powerhouses. Yep. And, like, as we've been saying with a lot of these entries, just like, yeah, this isn't like this is not a very strong semifinal. Like it's weird that it turned out that way, but it's what happened. And this could have been an opportunity for San Marino to finally make it back to the final. And instead they're saddled with this incredibly dated, incredibly heavy-handed, just, I don't want to call it a garbage song, but I just did. So there we go.
There we
I mean,
go.
it's like,
There it is.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, this is just, there's nothing engaging about this track. And it's just maddening to listen to, particularly like just how much it sounds like Heroes. Like, it's just like, okay, if you're going to, I'm not advocating copying any previous entries, but don't copy one of the most popular recent winners of the contest so blatantly. It's just, it's a total missed opportunity for San Marino.
Here's the question. Does this song end up in dead last like San Marino did last year?
That is a tough one.
I was actually kind of hurt that San Marino was in dead last year, because
that song
I
did
enjoyed
not
that
deserve
track.
it.
And also just kind of going into the data and stuff, there was one week where it got more YouTube views than Sweden and the Treadmills did, which was baffling to me. Like that was a song that burned very bright, very hot, very briefly. And like this one, it just doesn't seem like there's any interest in it whatsoever. And
I just feel like, in summation, Tyra yelling at Tiffany.gif.
yeah. We were rooting for you, San Marino. We were all rooting for you.
Yeah,
Stop it. Sorry. No, I just relived that moment recently. But San Marino, I want to help you. I really want to help you, but I cannot help you if you cannot help yourself. So
yeah, I'm really sad for San Marino. I'm just very sad.
yeah, because I mean, this could have been such an awesome opportunity for them. Like the 1 in 360 format was very interesting, and I think was a very bold choice on their part. But from stem to stern, the execution of it was just bonkers.
Yeah, and I mean, mostly for me, like, I want these small countries to compete. I want them to be able to compete. I want them to compete sincerely. And I think San Marino has done that this year. I'm afraid that, I mean, Turkey dropped out of the contest a few years ago for, I think, a bunch of reasons. They weren't getting dead last, right? But they were not happy with the results and with how voting and stuff was going. But I'm concerned that when small countries like San Marino just do so poorly multiple times in a row, that's going to encourage them not to compete. And that would be, I think, a very sad thing for Eurovision.
Yeah, and I know that their delegation has been like really frustrated, particularly with the voting aspect, because they don't have an audience vote.
The weird televoting thing with San Marino.
Yeah, because it's San Marino and I think Montenegro. It's either Montenegro or FYR Macedonia, where since their telephone networks are intertwined with other countries, they can't generate their own televote. So they have like a composite televote based on like similarly situated countries. It's a very weird, not in the spirit of democracy process that so like they have a number of structural obstacles that they have to overcome along with the artistic obstacles that the contest presents.
Yeah, like they already had the deck stacked against them, and this does not help.
No.
Freeze the arrow in the air. Make your mark and leave it hanging there. Be the first to turn around. Take the lead to land on higher ground. Race the banner to the sky. Face the fear and hold your head up high.
Denmark. Denmark has had like kind of a rough few years where it feels like they've been like, after winning the contest, they kind of got unmoored. Where it's like, where it's just like, okay. I mean, the year that they won, I thought that the entry that they submitted was great. Sort of fulfilled the category of, okay, we won the contest. Here is an entry that proves that we deserve that. And then in the years since then, when they've had to qualify again, they just been like, okay, so boy bands maybe? And the world has resoundingly said, no, thank you. Having taken a few rough years in a row, they're like, okay, well, what worked last time? Let's do that again. Or at least it feels like that to me. Like, this feels very in line with Only Teardrops, but not necessarily musically, but in terms of kind of like the scope of drama or whatever. I don't know. Like this, like admittedly, this song doesn't work for me. Or like, it feels very bubbly to me, and it's on, like, the lower side of my bubble, where, I don't know, there's just something about the performance as a whole just feels very musical theater rather than Eurovision.
Yeah. Which is what makes it great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the song. And I think it doesn't fit the same headspace for me as Only Teardrops did in terms of, the music, the performance doesn't. I mean, I think the quality of it is around that same level. One of the reasons I really like this is because it's dramatic. It feels to me like this would be a song over a montage in a Disney musical where they're like gearing up to go do stuff, right? Like I could hear this being in something like Mulan. It sort of fits the same headspace as like I'll Make a Man Out of You for Mulan for me. It's kind of dramatic. It's about war. It's about surrendering and like turning the other cheek and, taking the higher ground and averting World War III by, saying, I will not fight you, which seems kind of timely. This is one of those that I feel like you have to just not pay too much attention to the lyrics, though, to really get into it, as is true of many Eurovision songs. So it builds well. It's got a powerful chorus. I listen to the song routinely. I love the karaoke version of it, so I love the actual music behind it. I think the song is a very easy qualifier.
Yeah, so as we've mentioned, Eurovision is not a political contest. Drink, and hey, this is a drinking anthem. It just goes full circle, which I enjoy. And also like Romania, Rasmussen is about as SEO unfriendly as you can get when trying to find Twitter handles and such. I think this is going to be a really fun performance. Yeah, at least judging by Denmark's national final. Like, it's not pyrotechnics, but there's probably going to be fake snow, confetti type stuff, and lots of wind machine. Like, this is one that I'm most looking forward to seeing live.
Okay. I mean, I can see that, although, like, just having watched the national final performance before the show, like, I want them to bump that up to 11.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, I will begrudgingly accept it going through if they bump it up to 11 and make it an actual show.
I think it'd be cool if they did something like Turkey did a few years ago. Was it Love Me Back?
Oh,
where they made a boat out of people?
Yeah, and so all of the dancers had these long flowing capes that they turned into like a boat, and they turned into like several different things. If they can, because there's a nautical theme for this song as well. Mm-hmm. I think if they are able to do something creative like that, it doesn't necessarily need to be over the top flashy. It just needs to be clever. And I think if they are able to do that, this will go really, really well.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I'm not expecting this to win, but I'm fully expecting this one to qualify. Like, I think this is going to be a crowd pleaser, and based on where it's sitting in the running order, I think it's going to get elevated.
It definitely has the advantage of like immediately following whatever San Marino is going to do.
Denmark right now is sitting in 10, 9, 8, 7th spot with the odds makers, so they seem pretty confident. Right. It's actually tied with Moldova and Russia for 7th place. So interesting mix there. I would not have guessed that, but yep, that's where we're sitting with Denmark.
And everything I do is God believing by the minute. Now that I'm in it, now that I'm in it, I won't break.
All right, so Russia is gonna Russia with Yuliya Samoylova with her song I Won't Break. Russia is one of the 5 countries that has a perfect record so far, and is also one of the countries that may have that record put at risk this year. Ryan did just mention that Russia's sitting in the top 10 with the odds makers, but normally Russia would be a little bit higher. But last weekend was the Moscow Eurovision party, and Yuliya was one of the performers there. And the performance was kind of a disaster. You could sort of tell from the video, and we'll have it linked in the show notes, that she's kind of fiddling with her earpiece. So that suggests that there were probably some sound problems at the venue that they were at. It looked like it was a shopping mall of some sort. Yeah, it was just off-key, kind of caterwauling performance. And it wasn't just her. Like, her backing singers were like overpowering her and were off-key in kind of the same way, which is why I think there was like a genuine sound problem happening. Yeah, toward the end of the performance, if you're able to get through to that point, it did take me a couple of tries to get through like the entire performance video because it really was difficult to listen to. She looked like she was ready to murder someone. So, and it's unfortunate because like this was the first live performance of the song. It's really kind of set the tone for Russia's standing in the contest. And like Russia has also set the tone for Russia in Eurovision in general.
Done a lot of work the last couple of years of setting what their reputation is right now.
Yeah. So yeah, they're always interesting to watch at Eurovision, but the song is fine. Like it's nothing special. Like it's just like a very basic pop song, I'm going to say. I think if like a legitimate performance of it can happen, which I expect it will. Like Yuliya's like this is not her first rodeo. Like she has done concerts and singing competitions and that sort of thing. Like I don't think this has just been like suddenly like the emperor has no clothes or anything like that. But if the performance is passable, I think Russia's going to be fine. If it's anything like the Moscow performance, though, yeah, Russia's streak will rightfully come to an end because that was just like not a good performance. Ben, what do you think?
I would agree with you. Like just based on watching that performance, I think they need to sort of work internally and like figure out what they need to do to push this through. But like this song is, like you said, it's okay, it's fine. It's kind of generically inspirational, which I mean is a go-to for Eurovision. I don't know. I feel like all that we talked about the last time we talked about the song was like, well, at least they gave her a song this time, which good on them. But yeah, like I just can't get excited about this one, and I don't know. Like I have this one in my own rankings as in number 11, like just missing qualifying. And again, like I think if they have a rough performance, I think that feels like very on point. That even though there may be a lot of voters who are gonna, I don't know, is there a Russian diaspora? I feel like there's a Russian diaspora.
Well, I mean, you have all of the former Soviet states.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, like, how many of them are actually in this semifinal? Ukraine. Well, Ukraine's probably not going to happen.
Ukraine has its own fun thing.
Georgia's probably not eager to give points.
Georgia, who
either,
has actively had to be told multiple years, you can't send that entry because there are active lyrics in there that we can't allow. So yeah, like interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's Moldova. It's Moldova and
Latvia. Yeah. So I hadn't thought about that. Like all of the potential people like giving homage to Mother Russia are no longer there. So
they don't have Belarus, they don't have Azerbaijan. Like those are usually pretty reliable points for Russia. So
yeah, so they don't necessarily have like the go-to votes for them.
Yeah, I have this one in my bottom 3 for the semifinal for all the reasons that both of you have talked about. It's I don't see the song really coming back from that. I think there were probably sound issues that made her sound terrible, but you got to be able to push through that to deal with that. I don't like this song. It's not that it's not good. It's not that it's not okay. I think it's fine, but it doesn't bring anything. I am also very skeptical about what they're going to do with staging for this. Mm-hmm. I think no matter what they do, it is going to be below expectations because Russia has set themselves on such a high bar for themselves the past 5 years. So I don't see the song going through. There's a lot that can happen between now and May 12th. But for right now, this one is very squarely, for me, out of the running.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's really fair. Like like I'm not sure how they stage this one.
Yeah, because it's like pyrotechnics, no, like wind machine, especially if it's like immediately following Denmark.
Yeah,
like, it's like the wind machine needs to take a breather.
Because like I feel like Denmark is definitely going to bring a show.
And then right after Russia is Moldova. So the second half of this, or the second quarter of the semifinal, so the second half of the first half, it is a very strong, and Russia's kind of stuck in there.
Mm-hmm. Huh. But yeah, I think this is going to be interesting to watch because on one hand, Russia has kind of been a powerhouse. On the other hand, they're really shooting themselves in the foot this year.
Yeah, and like you didn't. Nobody saw this coming, which is like all the more surprising. Like I'm just making all of these connections right now. Be like, oh yeah, they don't have a lot of their like normal fan bases available. So yeah, this will definitely be one to watch to see what happens.
What is the opposite of the stars aligning?
Right after Russia is Moldova, the DoReDos with My Lucky Day. This is another sort of wedding themed song, very similar thematically to last year's third place finishing entry, which was great and hooked me from the very beginning. This song is interesting for me because I love Moldova. You all know I love Moldova. Mm-hmm. And this song just isn't doing it for me, and I can't figure out why. It has all of the pieces. It sounds Moldovan, right? It's got the trumpets and the brass and stuff that I really like. It has a lot of pieces that I would normally like, but for some reason, all of those pieces are not really coming together for me as strongly as they normally would. I still have this going through. I have this placed 9th. I think it'll go through. I'm just not connecting with it on the same emotional. It's not grabbing me. Like last year's song when I listened to Moldova, immediately I was like, this song is great. I've listened to this song a lot and I'm not there. I'm not there. What do you think about this one, Mike?
This one is one that I also loved when I first heard it, and it's been growing on me. But I agree that I think the problem is they are trying to recapture the magic from last year's entry, so it doesn't necessarily feel as fresh, or they're avoiding the possibility of exploring new territory, I guess.
But yeah, like I feel the exact same way where like there are so many things in this I like. Like there's that brass part, and like I generally like the melody line here, and like I just generally like Moldova's entries and I want them to do well. But I wonder how much of my liking this entry is me just wanting Moldova to continue to do well based off of last year's, because I loved last year's entry so much. I was so happy they got to third, and like this one is just not taking me to the same place.
It kind of reminds me, particularly with the instrumentation, of entries from like the 2010, 2011 area where it's like drawing on the folk traditions of a country, but then they're also wearing like the folk costumes, and it's kind of like going to like the historical festival in the town square type setup where it doesn't feel particularly current, but it also doesn't feel particularly Eurovision-y. Like it just doesn't feel like it's part of the ecosystem that it's trying to thrive in. Yeah. And I don't think that that's going to happen with this one. Like just based on the staging that they did at the national final and from various other live performances where it's like the pillars of mirrors and just the really kind of fun choreography.
Yeah, it feels like they're going to have like a fun stage performance, but I agree. Like this, it feels like this is what would happen if you went to the Moldova pavilion at Epcot.
Yes.
Yes, that is a great way to put it.
And that's great. But yeah, and like I think what it is for me is that last year's entry like had elements of like what Moldova has done in their Eurovision entries, but also felt very current and very what was going on in music. And this one lacks a little bit of that. It feels a little bit more dated.
Yeah, they don't have Epic Sax Man to lean on for all of the gift potential. Yeah. So.
In fairness, he can only do the Running Man while playing the saxophone for so long. But yeah, like I like this entry, and it feels like they're going to be doing some fun stuff with the performance that will sort of help elevate it, which is good. You should do that. But like, I don't think it's going to get to as high a position in the finals as last year's did.
Yeah, I would be satified with it qualifying for the final.
Same, I would like this one to qualify just because of the songs in this semifinal. It's I really like it, but like that would be enough for me with this year. Whereas like last year, I actively was like super pumped. Moldova was third.
It don't matter who you are when it's time to lock and load. Everybody's got a little outlaw winner. Chrome peas hiding in the blacked out denim. Heartbeat beating to a rock and roll rhythm, yeah. Everybody got a couple scarred up knuckles. Blood on the boots and the back up buckle. Diamondback rattle with a quick strike venom. Everybody's got a little outlaw winner.
So the Netherlands is sending Waylon this year, and like years and years ago, they sent the Common Linnets, who Waylon was a part of, and they did Gangbusters. Like they came in second, and it was, I don't know, like it felt like for a second, like had it not been like Conchita's year, it felt like I think it totally could have gone to the Netherlands. And like country seems to be a good look for the Netherlands, which I don't entirely get. When they've qualified in the last few years, it has been with something that had sort of like a country tinge to it. So you have the Common Linnets, you have Dewey Bob.
We had a nuke.
Yeah, we had a
with birds.
We had a new. That one's kind of weird for me because like I did not see that one going through, but there it was. And like when it feels like when they've stumbled, it's been stuff that has sort of drifted away from that. So country seems to be a thing that works for the Netherlands. So even though this particular flavor of country is not really my bag, I could see it. I mean, and just purely from the idea that it feels very different from what's going on in the rest of this semifinal and really the competition as a whole. That novelty could be great and could really work in its favor.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I wish more country music was like this. I like the song a lot. I still love the song. It's top 3 for me in the semifinal. I don't think it's going to come anywhere close to winning. I think there's just too many other songs that have more of a broad appeal. But I love it. This is one of my favorite songs. I always listen to it. I always sing along. I love the karaoke version. This is what good country could look like, right? Like it definitely pulls on some of that Garth Brooks 90s feel of kind of campy country, right? But like this song, it grabbed me at the beginning. I laughed out loud in part because I was watching the music video where the audience looked very uncomfortable to be in a room while he was playing the song. I think they were not expecting this at all. This is one of those songs that I have just loved from the first time I heard it. It's got like a magic special something that very few other songs in this year's contest have for me.
I'm so glad that we do not have our cameras on right now because I was making such a face at this being what you want country to sound like. Because on the other hand, I've been listening to a lot of Casey Musgraves lately. And like for me, that is what modern country should be.
Just to be clear, I said I want more country.
Okay,
to sound
more
like
country.
this. I don't want this to be the only version of country.
I mean, this sounds like a joke. This sounds like you're making a joke of country music to me. Like this song in particular just sounds like it's making fun of country music. Like
if it were someone else, I might agree with that. But this is Waylon. He has made his career on singing country music. He's not making fun of it. This is that sincerely cheesy thing that I was talking about so many episodes ago, right? That like you're trying to make something really good and it comes out a little cheesy, but it's still great. That's squarely where the song fits for me in sort of Eurovision lore. Mike, I feel like you're going to have feelings about this song.
I still can't with this one.
That's okay. That's fair.
Like like I think when we talked about it originally, I said it just has this Axl Rose Bon Jovi hybrid vibe about it. I still hear like I cannot shake that sound profile out of my head, and it's just something that I do not want. It does not take me to Paradise City. It is not wanted dead or alive. This is just not for me. That being said, I fully expect this to qualify. Even though I don't like what it is doing it at a very high level, and it's doing it very well. So why should it be punished just because I can't stand it? So yeah, like I think I have this ranked like 12, and like that's just more on the bubble for me just because of like my own, I don't want to say taste because that sounds like super elitist, but no, it's just like it is not for me. Yeah. But like I it's doing what it's trying to do very well. So yeah, it should qualify based on that.
Yeah, and it's ranked 5th with the odds makers right now, which actually I'm shocked by. I thought it would be sort of 6 to 10 range. 6, 7, 8.
It's 5th
range.
with the odds makers, but like looking at current YouTube views as of like whenever we pulled this, like it's 17th in those. So those feel like very disparate statistics to me.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why YouTube views aren't the perfect indicator of audience engagement, because I am guessing that there is a version that is on Waylon's YouTube page that probably has significantly more views. Like if you go back to 2016, Sergei Lazarev's video, I don't even think it was in the top 5 of like most viewed on the Eurovision channel, but I think he hit like 20 million views before the contest on his own YouTube channel. So yeah, I'm sure the view count is fine. It's just our source for that information is not the ideal source.
I know what you must be thinking, but we are powerless to change things, but don't give up, 'cause we got love, 'cause we got love. I won't throw my hands up to surrender, 'cause love is stronger than fire, so don't give up, 'cause we got love, 'cause we got love.
right, so the last one we're talking about this week is Australia's entry from Jessica Mauboy, We Got Love. When we first talked about this, yeah, I was kind of like, it's sort of in the Demi Lovato space, and like I can sort of take it or leave it, and yeah, I was just kind of ambivalent about it. And then we were doing the rankings for this, and I was doing the sort of comparison ranking where you take the two options and choose your preference, and you just go through each possible pairing in the semifinal. So what is that, like 18 times 17? Whatever. It's a lot of comparisons. Yeah, it's definitely something to do like while watching Golden Girls reruns. Anyway, yeah, going through, it was just like, all right, just picking my preferences. And when I got to Australia, it was just like, all right, well, yeah, Australia, and like just went all the way down the board, and like with zero hesitation, it's like, oh, I think I really like Australia's song. And then I saw Jessica's performance at the London Eurovision party and was just really impressed with like her crowd work and just how engaged the audience was. And I thought it was a really good performance. And then also watching her performance at the Eurovision in concert, which I thought was an improvement over her London performance. So I am totally in the bag for this one. And I think she could be a genuine challenger to Israel for winning this whole thing. Ben, what do you think?
I'm so glad that you said that, Mike, because that was going to be like my thesis statement here too, is like you, I was doing comparisons of like two songs at a time. I was watching a bunch of Mystery Science Theater rather than Golden Girls, but we each have our methods.
It's called science.
Yeah, it's called science, thank you. Literally read a book. I'm getting off track anyways, but yeah, like this was another one where like I was like, okay, it's the second semifinal. Sweden's gonna win it for me. I got down to the Australia versus Sweden. I'm like, no, I kind of like Australia's a little bit more. And like that every single time it came up, I was like, yeah, Australia. And like I can completely see this in a situation like we had like the first time, like in 2016, where we had this new scoring method where I think Ukraine was like second in both with the judges and with the televote, but that was enough of a squeaker to get it to number one. Like I could see that happening again, where enough nations give Australia a number of points, even if a lot of 12s are going Israel's way, and this could still win. And to me, like I don't know, like I like Toy, I really like Toy, but like as like what won Eurovision, I kind of like Australia. I kind of like We Got Love a little bit more.
I am really conflicted about this song. So a lot of what I just said about Moldova and how I want to like it, I feel that even stronger about Australia. I want to like this song. I love Jessica Mauboy. If I had just gone with how I ranked things based on my like comparing two songs, this would not have been in qualifying for me. And I was like, no, I know better. This is going to qualify. Like I have no doubt of that. So I was like, okay, I have to redo this. There have to be some other songs I like this better than. The problem isn't really even the song. It's the idea of the song, right? Like this, like We Got Love. Like I just don't have a lot of patience right now. I don't know that I've ever had a lot of patience for this kind of song, but like love is stronger than fire. And like, we got love, so we're going to be okay. It's like, that's not really how that works. Like, love can like sustain you through things, but like, it's not going to like without action, the world's not, anyway.
Sort of the whole love trumps hate thing.
Yes. I just cannot with that right now. And I think that is just spoiling the song and the performance for me. And so this is one of those songs that like, I am not rooting for Australia to win. I'm not rooting for it to lose. I have another song that we'll talk about in the next episode that I would like to win the whole contest. If this song wins, I will not be sad. I will not be super excited. I'll be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right? But you know, and I'm saying that about this song, I've not super loved any of Australia's stuff. Like I've recognized that it's good. I've recognized that it's catchy, but I don't think there has been a song Australia has come out with that I have had sort of that instant emotional connection with, like I do for like Ukraine in 2016. I just immediately latched onto that song, 1944. And some of the other songs from like Netherlands from this year's contest. I just don't have that for Australia. So I don't have any doubt that it's going to qualify. I don't have any doubt that it's going to do really well. This is one of those that it's just not, if it comes on, I will not skip it, but I'll probably be daydreaming while it's on. I wish the best for Jessica Mauboy. If she wins, I will be excited for her. I personally will not have probably a strong emotional reaction to the song itself winning. So
purely on a logistics level, I feel like ever since Australia has been an official part of the contest, there's been kind of like, okay, what's the plan if this happens? But it feels like they've always kind of just had like a hypothetical, oh, well, we'll figure out the details when we get there. And I really want them to have to figure out what that looks like. I mean, we know that's going to not be in Australia, but I want them to have to, like, I don't know, like, just from a logistical standpoint, I'm very excited to see what would happen if that happened.
Sure. I mean, I think they have precedent, right? That there have been other countries who have won and couldn't host for whatever reason. And I think in the past it's been the UK who has stepped up to host, but that was, multiple decades ago, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, I mean, my guess would be that it'd be whoever comes in second place then has, the right of first refusal, basically. I would guess. It'll be interesting to see how that actually works. So I don't mean to sound super cynical about Australia. It's just not one that I'm really connecting with all that strongly. So it'll do well. I recognize that. It's just not going to be, I'm not going to spend much time voting for it, or I wouldn't if I could.
For me, with Australia, I don't think with any of their entries I had like an instant, oh yeah, this is amazing. But they've all been like ones that have grown on me. And I think like with Guy Sebastian, it wasn't until his first seeing him performing in the rehearsals, because they got an automatic buy their first year of competing, where it's just like, oh, I totally get this now. And it was the same with Dami Eam in 2016. Last year, I was more of like, I got on board with Australia earlier, but it still wasn't like an instant thing. It was just like, I think it was just one Wednesday night where I was watching the YouTube videos, and it's like, oh yeah, I really get this song. And like, I bought the t-shirt. It was awesome. But like, I've already bought my Australia t-shirt for this year. So
awesome.
Yeah. I also am eager to see what happens if Australia does go all the way, particularly as it relates to there being like the Big Five. And it's just like, okay, if Australia's not able to host, does that mean the host country also gets an automatic buy? And like, or is the final going to be 27 countries again? And like, yeah.
I mean, if it does end up being in the UK, I'm just going to pitch this now. Mel and Sue host.
Yes. Oh, please, yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's anything restricting them to hosting in the UK. They should just host wherever it is, I feel like. Can we just have like permanent hosts for the song contest named Mel and Sue? And I'll point out that the odds makers have Australia winning the semifinal.
Nice. I do not doubt that they will. They are going to qualify.
Yeah, like
that is not in question.
Like of all the entries right. We've discussed tonight, like they feel like the clear go through.
Yes. This
has been like kind of a rough first half of a semi to discuss. Like we have, just looking at our rankings, like we are all unified in thinking that San Marino, oh dear. And then it also it also just seems like Serbia, we are all kind of okay, this could go either way, but we seem kind of down on that one, similar to Russia, although Russia is one where I really need to think about that one more.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of our Russia rankings is just like...
It's just personal stuff.
Yeah, like our own opinions of Russia. And it's just like, all right. Like,
yeah.
All of these rankings that we are basing on are just like personal preference, not necessarily predictions on what will happen. Like a lot, this is much more wishful thinking than like our actual sciencey ones.
This first round of rankings is largely just us being like, well, if I was the entire voting audience, what would go through?
Mathematically, one of these songs will be qualifying, and we're pretty sure it's going to be Australia. It could be more of them, but at least one of them will.
Just mathematically, there are 18 entries, which means that everything from the second half of the semifinal could go through, and they'd still have to pick one of these songs.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough semi to watch. I'm not looking super forward to this half of the semis.
Yeah, how did this happen? Like the first semifinal was just an embarrassment of riches, and this is really turning into an embarrassment.
Maybe this is why it took so long for the actual lineup to come out. Just going over the first half of this one, like, oh no, what happened? Things to look forward to next week. We are much more excited about that half of the semifinal.
Looking forward to it.
Yep.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Euro What. Thanks for listening. The Euro What podcast is a production of WhatElseIsOn.tv. Our Eurovision News and Entertainment Research Division specialists are Ryan Brazel, Mike McComb, and Ben Smith. Follow our coverage of the 2018 Eurovision Song Contest at our website, eurowhat.com. You can also catch us on social media at EuroWhat on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you'd like to contact us by email, we can be reached at esc@whatelsison.tv. We'd love to hear your questions and comments. You can subscribe to the Euro What on iTunes or the podcast app of your choice. While you add the subscription, leave us a review and let us know how we're doing. We'll be back with more Eurovision updates next week.